Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. It's your responsibility to do your own due diligence if you choose to follow anything that we show on the show. So we start out today, big sell-off on Bitcoin last night, fell to 59,000, right under 59,000. And now it is bouncing back today up to 62,000. So that is a story with Bitcoin, and the PPI report came in and prices were flat. They were expected to go up 0.1%. So the market is cheering that. And let us go over to our word of the day. Our word of the day is Paraph. Paraph is our word of the day, a flourish after a signature, originally as a precaution against forgery. After signing the contract, John added a distinctive paraph, a little squiggle that looked like a smiley face. So on we move to our S&P 500 heat map. Tesla is down big today. People were not, I guess, happy with the robo-taxi rollout. It is down about 8%. Google, Amazon are a few of them up. What was up big today? JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and some of the other banks followed suit. Their earnings came in above what people were expecting, so they gapped up. Industrials, energy is bouncing back again. Utilities, basic materials, just a whole slew of things that are bouncing. Video is up much bigger earlier. It's pulling back a little bit. And semiconductors seem to be doing well, except for Broadcom. So let us take a look at this chart. If you spent your whole life building up your wealth, looking for a nice retirement, you may want to think about this, as this only goes up when the market goes up. Goes up the step, goes up the step, does not come back down the step when the market goes down. Eventually, there's going to be a rotation out of that. We'll talk about that this weekend, where the money never truly leaves the market and just rotates to a different sector. It could be gold, could be bonds, could be currencies. So that is a story. This beats index investing by about 5% per year, and currently there's bonuses of 10% or more. If you're interested in learning more about that and how this works, feel free to send a comment. Now let's go over to our charts. We were looking at breakouts today. There's two breakouts. Radware, big breakout here. It's up 4.56% into the pivot zone. Earnings are for 20 days. And the other one is a bank, financial, Amalgamated Financial. I believe that is in New York, Washington. I guess they have some in California as well. Up 4.35% today. Let us go take a look at our currency. Dollar had been trending pretty strong. Might be some little profit taking the last 2 days. Silver gets a little bit of a bounce there. It's been up 2 days in a row. Got a gap up today. Gold gaps up as well, gets above the 10-day moving average. You can see on every pullback, that would have been a chance to add, as this is just kind of following the 10 and 20-day moving averages. Copper gets a little bounce as well. And go to uranium. Uranium gets a bounce up for the 10-day. Denison Mines, which was up yesterday strong, is actually pulling back slightly. Let's go over to our 10-year bond yields. They're pulling back a little bit today, not too much, down 0.37%, still at 4.08 yield. The 20-year bonds are up 0.31% on the yield, and the bonds are selling off 0.13. They're selling for about 940 on the bond pricing. Let us go over to the VIX. The VIX pulls back, but it's still at a pretty high level, still being above 20. So volatility still reigns. S&P 500 looks like it's breaking higher, up 0.58%. And the equal weight is moving up over 1%. So it looks like this is kind of spreading out, which is a good sign. The NASDAQ, pretty flat for the day, amazingly. And the equal weight is moving up a little stronger, which looks good. Small capitalization, it's a big bounce today, up 1.7%. And then let us move over to the Dow. The Dow is definitely moving up 0.82%. Let's look. Industrials got a big move up 1.66%. Financials should be up strong, which they are. They're up 1.91. Mining and metals get a little bit of a bounce, up 1.41. XLC kind of flat there. Take a look at Comcast is in this group. Kind of trading in a tight little range. I'd definitely put this on your watch list. Utilities, a little bit of a bounce. Real estate, getting up to the 50-day moving average. Still needs some work to do. Biotech, look at that move on biotech. It's up 2% today. Up 1.23% on the other ETF. Infrastructure, up 1.8. Semiconductors, kind of flat. Broadcom is keeping the lid on there. Really like A-Lab, just continues streaking higher. Jets, leisure activities, up 1.3. This is going to be down with the pressure from Tesla. So P up slightly. Healthcare, 0.72. Big move in 3% on the S&P 500 banks. Big move on the regional banks. I would say this is the ETF of the day, up 3.3%. Look at what's happening in China. Get a little bit of a bounce there. And looks like Futu got a nice bounce today, up about 6%. Building materials, up 0.85%. And just ITV and software continues up strong. Technology up 0.13%. And the home builders get a nice bounce up of 1.25%. Take a look at Fang Yu. It's off a little bit. That pressure on Tesla is really kind of hurting that index or ETF. So let us go over to the news. Just pulling the news up here. We've got some earnings coming in. Interesting. This is Dave. They were down yesterday, gap down because of they were unhappy with some of the things in the earnings, but it is filling the gap today. So it's up 6%. Yeah, this is one that we took a position. I believe it was right over here somewhere where it crossed the moving averages. And let's go to Nike. Said it would bring in 3-decade company veteran Tom Peddle become vice president and general manager of Nike's North segment on October 21st, succeeding Scott Uzel, who Nike said has decided to leave. Tesla shares tumbled after the company unveiled its robotaxi night event with 2 gull-wing doors and no steering wheel or pedals, but lacked concrete details that some investors and experts hoped for, sending shares lower. Elon Musk said that the company will start building the fully autonomous Cybercab by 2026 at a price of less than $30,000, but did not specify how quickly Tesla could ramp up the production of the robotaxi. Now on to energy, industrials, and materials. Constellation Energy moved lower, and they're bouncing a little bit here. And Vista Energy, they moved lower after Microsoft, Alphabet, Meta, Amazon, along with other companies have proposed an alternative framework for how data centers pay for power in Ohio, according to documents filed in regulators Thursday. The data centers and cryptocurrency miners provide prepayments and financial assurances for their massive energy needs. AEP said at the time it was overloaded with requests from those 2 groups. Big tech power companies, including Constellation Energy and One Energy Enterprises, along with others, later opposed AEP. So that is the story with those companies. Also impacting independent power producers. Energy to that list. After yesterday, PJM indicated it would propose a 6-month delay in the auction currently planned for December. Morgan Stanley said they think this could be a net negative for near-term auction results, but positive medium-term and could increase demand for behind-the-meter nuclear deals. On to aluminum. Prices jumped more than 2% in London after a key supplier of mined ore needed to make the metal, said exports from its operations in Guinea had been suspended. So they suggest watching, I believe this is Alcoa. It gaps up today, up 3.74%. And Cenex, Century Aluminum gaps up as well, up nearly 4%. Emirates Global Aluminum is seeking to clarify from customs authorities in Guinea after exports of bauxite were halted, the company said in a statement. On to Fastenal, Q3 EPS 52 cents was in line with estimates. And wow, that is just taken off. It's up 8.32%, jumps into the pivot zone. Q3 sales rose 3.5% year over year to 1.91 billion versus 1.9 billion. And on to General Dynamics, downgraded to neutral from buy at Seaport Research. And it is up 1.32%. Financials, Bank of New York, Q3 EPS, $1.52 versus estimate of $1.42. Tried to rise, and now it's selling off. BlackRock, Q3 adjusted EPS, $11.46, tops consensus of $10.33, and it is breaking higher out of this pretty tight zone that was following the 10-day moving average, 3.08%. On to JP Morgan, Q3 EPS, $4.37 versus consensus of $4.01. And look at that move. That is up pretty strong, pretty good volume. Earnings came in at a negative 4% from the year over year quarter. This was almost a 10% surprise. And Wells Fargo, Q3 revenues, $20.37 billion versus estimate of $20.42. Q3 net interest income, $11.69 billion versus estimate of $11.88. and we got a gap up on that, 2% increase in earnings year over year, 10.66 earnings surprise. It is up nearly 6% in the day. On to healthcare. Centene said it has about 46% of its Medicare Advantage membership enrolled in plans rated 3.5 stars or higher. Moving higher today, up 1.87%. It's like pretty low volume on that move, though. On to Humana. Shares dropped overnight after the U.S. Medicare program released final quality ratings for private Medicare Advantage health plans. One of Humana's largest contracts that covers almost half its Medicare Advantage membership dropped to a lower rating on the government STAR system, jeopardizing bonus payments from the U.S. health program for elderly and disabled due in 2026. And had gap really sold off here, gap down here. It is pretty flat for the day. Tiva has agreed to pay $450 million to resolve allegations that it violated an anti-kickback statute of the False Claims Act, the U.S. Justice Department said in a statement. On to technology, media, and telecom. Air Test Systems. This was one that had been doing well in 2020. It looks like it's clearing all of the major moving averages. Maybe it's a bottoming base here, up nearly 15%. Earnings came in at 7 cents versus estimate of 2 cents on revenues of 13.119 million versus 12.17 million. Orvo downgraded to equal weight from overweighted Morgan Stanley, saying they see limited upside near term around a weaker Android supply chain and weak broad market conditions, limiting the gross margin recovery that it had been looking for. It's still pretty flat on the day. And finally, the European Commission said it has sent a request for information to PDD Holdings shopping website, Temu, under the Digital Services Act, DSA, asking Temu for information on steps it is taking to stop illegal products being sold on its platform. Temu must provide the requested information by 21st of October 2024. With that, PDD holding is still up 2.39%. So that is our news. I'm going to go over to our daily routine, find out what is up 10% and 200% increase in volume. Longboard Pharma had a big stick over here, sold off, kind of looks like a handle, and it is bouncing up 12.63% today. This is Symbotic, robotic systems and warehouse management. It was up big yesterday, continues up big today. And we just looked at Air Test Systems, and I was looking earlier at Donald J. Trump. This company up another 4.27%. It was up higher earlier, and it has been selling off since then. We can take a look, see what is in them, up 5%. MicroStrategy. We did get into an option here at 185 to 190. Took off some of these. And we are continuing to watch that. Air Test System, Arvinas, there's 25 items. We're not going to go through all 25, but Arvinas is up 6.76%. Air Transport Services gapping up. Their earnings aren't for another 20 days. It's up 5.5%. Axos Financial moving into the pivot zone. Looks like maybe a bottoming base here. 5.86% and 142% increase in volume. Bank of America, 7 rising with the news of the other two big banks. Domino's Pizza. We looked at this yesterday, tried to move higher and then sold off, and it is breaking above the moving averages. Looked at Fastenal. Maybe Granger is moving up on the Fastenal data. It's up 5.38%. GXO Logistics, which is trying to negotiate a sale, is up another 6.68% today. We looked at JP Morgan. We looked at Longboard. Nurex Therapeutics is bouncing up nearly 10%. We looked at Radware earlier. Seaport Entertainment looks like a recent IPO. Restaurant, retail, leisure services for customers. We looked at Symbotic. Triumph Group, it's up 6.23%. Uber is up, I guess, on the robo-taxi information, breaks into the pivot zone. VersaBank, Canadian Scheduled One charter bank, operates as an electronic branchless model. It is clearing the pivot zone right here. Finally, V2X. Is up 5.87%, 137% increase in volume. Said we weren't going to go through all of them. I guess we did cover them all. What are we doing today? We haven't really done too much. We did take off some shorts. We had a 21, 25 option spread, so we took off a couple more of the 25s. We think this is going to pull up. We'll just have to wait and see. VRT. Clearing the pivot zone here. Up 2.74%. Oracle was up earlier. It's pretty flat at the moment. Wonder if this Guardian Health has hit bottom. Got some good buying in here, up 3%. Carpenter Technology, this continues inching up ever so slightly. Elf Beauty bounces to 110. Wondering if this 100 day down to 100 was a bottom. I had thought about adding some more options here, but decided against it. Just going to wait and let it prove itself first. NVIDIA, kind of flat for the day. Reddit, had a nice little bounce off the 10-day moving average, up 2.8%. Terra is back to 130. We'll see if it can continue off of this. Pull back to the 20-day and is bouncing up 3.9% today. We looked at MicroStrategy and Dave earlier. We looked at ALAB. This is some pretty good volume over here. Kava Mediterranean Grill. Moving up ever so slightly today, 2.79%. Finally, BidX. Got a gap up on BidX, interestingly today. It's up about 8.85% to 27.19. So we got a week to go on the covered calls on that one. So we'll see what happens. If it takes it out, we had put some options in MicroStrategy, so we could switch to MicroStrategy. That's why we bought them today. This is Mornings with Michael. Happy Friday to everybody. Hope everybody has a great weekend. go out there and relax, have some good time with your family. And we'll be back here on Sunday to take a look at how everything looks, the economy shaping up, and maybe we probably will have some looks at how things rotate, how you could have made money in big sell-offs in the past by following the rotation, getting out of stocks and moving to where the money was flowing. So that is the story. Hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll catch you later.